Welcome to the CoinSec podcast. On this week's episode, we discuss Grin, a new MimbleWimble-based cryptocurrency. Also, Cryptopia was hacked, a critical vulnerability was found in the Beam wallet, and we discuss a nifty trick that attackers are using to trick torrenters into installing malware. All that and more on episode number 36 of the CoinSec podcast.
Want to secure your assets.
We can crack the wallet.
Oh, we've done it before.
We've got rigs, character adversary, attribution mode.
With our private keys combined.
Building some kind of blockchain super weapon.
There's just a number of vulnerabilities that are in the smart contracts.
Math. It's probably secure.
They all secretly mine cryptocurrency.
What coin can I trust? Which one is cryptographically secure?
Don't roll your own crypto.
CoinSec podcast. The CoinSec podcast is a podcast about cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies with a focus on securing them. Don't let the hum of our dual-purpose crypto miners / password crackers in the background disrupt your listening pleasure. Today, I am your host, Bo Bullock. I've also got with me Mike Felch. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, it's been a while.
It has. Welcome back.
Yeah.
How's things?
They're not too bad, just kind of recovering from the holidays, taking a break from technology. I got real bad allergies right now, so
Nice.
trying to get over that.
Cool. Awesome. I've also got Steve Borosh. What's up, Steve?
Hey guys, good to be back.
Howdy.
We're 2 weeks in a row now. Woohoo!
Yeah, man. That's a streak.
Although it seems like every week we trade either Mike or Ralph, one or the other. So I guess Ralph's not with us at this moment.
Yeah. We'll
Perhaps later.
we'll just let it be a surprise whether or not he'll drop in or not, because I think every time I say somebody's going to join, every time I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, Mike said he's going to join, and like last week, or maybe he'll just drop in, and it doesn't happen.
Did this time. I saw you say that in there.
I know. Do you hear us? Did you actually hear us talking about you last week? Did you actually listen to the show? No? Okay, good.
I
Don't.
did.
Just kidding.
Okay, so I'll put it on my list of to-dos.
We don't talk bad about you. We missed you, man.
It's okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been kind of out of it. I haven't been following anything.
Well, this week I've been kind of hardcore trying to figure out what the hell MimbleWimble is. So I think this
You and half the community, yeah.
Yeah. So I think this week's episode will probably kind of focus on that a little bit. There's definitely been some big news security wise. And honestly, the prices have not really moved anywhere. So there's really not a whole lot of discussion there. Literally, I think it's only $1 billion less than it was last week, which is kind of funny to say. It's actually not. That's not a big change, to be honest.
At least I'm not out $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't impact me as much.
Yeah, so that's honestly I'm happy that it hasn't moved much. It's better than another $20 billion loss. I'll say that.
Sure.
So I think the big news, probably the most prominent story from this week, is that Cryptopia, major cryptocurrency exchange from New Zealand, got hacked this week. They went offline, and I think they're still trying to track down what exactly happened.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and throw out there the hacked in air quotes. There is, of course, lots of FUD and lots of speculation. When was it on the 15th, their website just showed down for maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, or the 14th, and then the 15th, they said down for maintenance. And the next day, they actually did a small release saying that there was a significant a breach with significant losses. So speculation is that, bear market, they just, YOLO, we're out.
You think? Really?
Deal. That's some of the speculation, but not to spread FUD or anything. But we like to bring all the news,
Sure.
what people are saying and what might be going on. But at the same time, the New Zealand police and high-tech crimes unit are jointly and actively investigating the matter, according to CoinDesk. So,
interesting. Yeah, Cryptopia is one of the larger exchanges. That's I would expect something like that out of a smaller no-name exchange that I've never heard of.
Well, they're no.
weren't they known for like having a lot of coins, like a different
Yeah,
variety?
Yep. Yeah, some of like the more
Absolutely, yeah.
stranger
Variety.
altcoins that you typically, I'm trying to think. I definitely have bought coins there. I mean, it was a while ago, so I'd have to go look and see what.
Yeah, I've got some stuff on there, but unfortunately can't log in and check
It's
it
still
out
down right now.
Yeah.
So, is there any indication as to what all was taken or what all was moved from there?
There is a community-driven effort to track what's been coming out of there, and there's a couple reports kind of on the underground and on Reddit, quote unquote, investigations. People are saying that they're tracking ERC20 tokens that have left the exchange and trying to figure out, the timing, like after the exchange went offline, that there was movement of large amounts of coins. So that's, speculating that, the hackers still had access.
Right. I think I saw that apparently they moved some of the coins to Binance, and which is a really dumb move because they immediately got frozen at Binance. Like I guess Binance, they honestly like they've been on top of their game, keeping up with like
they have a really good fraud alert system.
Yeah, exactly.
And they will freeze accounts if there's.
Was there a lot? Was there a lot moving to Binance?
Let's see if there's a number here in this article.
It'd be interesting. That's actually an interesting move if you think about it. Because if it's not a lot, it's just a smokescreen, and it gets all the authorities kind of rambling over in another direction.
Okay, so from what I can see here, around $14,000, $15,000 worth of two different cryptocurrencies. Metal was one, and Kyber Network crystals.
Okay, so that's actually interesting. And it was millions that was total, right?
Yeah. So they're trying to track down at least $3.6 million.
So take 15 grand, throw it at a big exchange.
Yeah.
Get all of the few law enforcement that are involved wrapped up with tracking down Binance to see if they can do something.
That is an interesting theory, yeah. Like kind of like a smokescreen. Like
smokescreen.
Send them down the wrong path.
Yep. Get them all the resources that you have wrapped up in something that's useless, and spend 15 grand out of your millions to do it.
So tracking currencies and stuff like that is pretty fun as well. I don't know if it's related, but since we're talking about Binance, on the 14th, actually, like the day before all this happened, 107,432 Bitcoins were transferred from Binance to an unknown wallet, according to Whale Alert. That's $398 billion US at today's.
That was the one, I think. Didn't they claim that was going to like Russia, right?
That's the speculation. It's just, all these timings are pretty crazy. The stuff's happening together. So who knows?
Lots of big things moving around.
Yeah, seems that way. And I'll tell you what, this Whale Alert, if you're not following it on Twitter, it's whale_alert. It's pretty interesting to see.
How much did you say that was worth? Hold on, say that number again.
Currently worth $398 billion US.
398 billion. Billion with a B.
Billion.
Wait.
It's 107,000 Bitcoin.
Wait, that can't be right because like the market cap is only like 123 billion.
Well, that's current. Is that current trading volume?
I think it's the overall market cap, right? Like, so that's all Bitcoin.
Well, that's not coins in existence because it can't fluctuate. I mean, you can't lose 100 billion in market cap and then just say that the coins disappeared. So I don't think that's a 1-for-1 ratio.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Here, so no, 64 billion is Bitcoin on marketcap.com right now. So 64 billion market cap. So what I always assumed that was the total circulating supply times price. Is that not correct? Here, circulating supply is 17 million.
There you go. Yeah.
0.062 times what was that? 3673. Yeah, that's right. 64 billion. So the circulating supply is 17 million right now.
So it's 107,400 Bitcoin.
Which is not billions of dollars.
Is Whale Alert doing their math wrong?
Maybe it's like different.
You said 107,000 Bitcoins? Right?
107,000.
Yeah, so that times 3673 is 393 million with an M.
Maybe they've got their decimals wrong.
Yeah, or maybe they're just using like the English.
They're using commas, they're using commas, not decimals. So.
Yeah, I knew there's some
not
math
billion.
out there. Okay, cool. So $393 million, which, okay, so the reason I was asking, because I saw this article just pop up today that says Russia denies buying $10 billion in Bitcoin. I didn't know if that was associated with that particular or not.
They denied buying it, but is that the one with the transaction?
Right. That's what I was wondering. I can't quite tell from the article. So, anyways, so with Cryptopia, you don't have any way to log in right now, right? So there's no way to go take your crap off the exchange currently. I guess keep an eye on it.
The latest police report says that they're outside the offices still physically.
Like they're waiting to arrest somebody at the office?
Well, I think they're capturing evidence forensically. They're trying to.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I guess we'll try to keep you updated next week on that story because it still appears to be developing as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on. Pirate Bay torrent miners. Okay, I saw this earlier, and I know this isn't that really all that interesting, but I thought it was kind of interesting given the context of how they were kind of injecting a coin miner into these files that you would download if you were, torrenting movies and stuff. And a security researcher actually was downloading a movie and found that the movie he downloaded was actually not like a video file, but it was actually an LNK shortcut. And the shortcut was literally just running some PowerShell that installed Cozy Bear malware. And
that's funny. I saw this on Twitter the other day, and I didn't decipher it until you posted it as an article in here. I was just like, well, that's weird. Hackers are putting droppers in movies now. I didn't really think of the cryptocurrency related part of that. So this is a pretty cool article. We've seen malicious LNKs around for quite a while, and we use them on red teams and pen tests.
Yep.
So basically, an LNK. Think of your like Internet Explorer shortcut on your
icon.
desktop.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a link file in LNK, and you can create those, just with a couple PowerShell commands, and just create a link or an LNK that points to like a malicious executable or a download cradle. So it runs PowerShell that downloads an executable and then runs it in the background, and that's what they were doing here with this. So pretty tricky way to do it, embedding it in. And we used to see that all the time in things like, what were those peer-to-peer trading softwares?
Napster.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Quaza, or was the
Kaza.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So those things, like that stuff was backdoored all the time.
Oh yeah.
AirShare.
Yeah.
But usually with torrents,
oh man,
people realize them and delete them, and I don't know. I haven't seen.
So I wonder.
Backdoored torrents.
I wonder how far they went with the actual torrent file. Like I wonder if they actually made it like a few gigs, like a movie file would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 733 meg. Is
Nice. So they actually they made that.
Was the movie with it? I mean,
like how did they?
Was it legit?
That's what I'm wondering. Because all right, so the LNK file, like if you just create an LNK file, it's gonna be like what, like
there's
a couple
picture,
K
yeah.
or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like so.
No, so it wasn't. Yeah, it was 1 kilobyte, and
Okay.
it looks like The movie was not even there. It was just
Well, I think it's in the folder. I think there's sample and subtitles in the folder that fill it up because the actual torrent is reporting that it's 733 meg. And if you do look at the link file, it is only 1K, but there are 2 subfolders that have data in it, more than likely. And I bet you they probably just stuffed it with a bunch of garbage.
So the thing to do would be to actually make the file the size, like the proper size, like just fill it with garbage data too.
There's just so much better way to do it that I'm not even going to talk about on here.
Oh, here goes Mike with his. Yeah, we can hack better.
No, it's really bad. Yeah, actually. No, so like this one has 2,375 seeders. There's 241 leechers on this one torrent. So if you think about that, there's 2,375 people at the current time, at least at this when the screenshot was taken, that were seeding that malware.
Wow.
Which means it was actually on their computer, right?
Yeah.
Which means they have the full copy of it and it's sharing. And then there's 241 leeching it, not sharing back. So 241 people are actually getting what they deserve.
Oh, come on, man.
That was kind of funny though. No, yeah. So I don't know. This is interesting. This is an interesting little trick. It looks like, at least.
I mean, it makes you wonder, like, what are other applications could you potentially do this with? Because, like, I know, like, like the DMC Act, like, I know they've tried tricky shit before, like to try to track. And I'm wondering, could this be something that, like actual movie companies could utilize in a way, like in a weird way, like an LNK file that beacons but then runs a movie or something, or like yeah,
there you go.
Like embed it somehow. Like, is there a way to embed? I don't know. This is probably way off topic.
Yeah, probably.
Interesting though. Actually, one of the things that I thought was really interesting about the malware in particular is that it actually would modify some web pages. So like, for example, it would modify, like, if you went to Wikipedia, you know how Wikipedia pops up like, donate to us, please. Like, we're, trying to run a free site here. We don't get paid. Please donate, whatever. So this malware would actually modify that site, the donate part, just the donate part, to put in like their own addresses, their own Bitcoin and Ethereum addresses. So, and it's funny. It says, it doesn't say Ethereum if you read. They did a typo and it says their Ethernet address, and it's an Ethereum their Ethernet address.
Oh my god.
So
I like
so it wasn't actually doing mining, right? It was just replacing wallet addresses so that it would send them the cash or send them the funds instead of to the site.
Yeah, I think that's the primary purpose. I haven't actually researched Cozy Bear specifically.
It's a Russian APT group.
It's an APT group.
Oh, okay.
But it got flagged. It got flagged out because of the PowerShell, though. It's just because the PowerShell was used that matches it. I mean, but that's a common.
That's a soft indicator.
Yeah, it's not. It's more than likely not Russia. It's probably somebody that just copied and pasted some PowerShell execution script that installs Cozy Bear.
Yeah, so there's a Bleeping Computer article that talks about it as well, and they say it basically just poisons Google results. So, let's see.
It's definitely using a download execute Gradle.
Yep. Yeah, web injects poison Google and Yandex search results. Another goal is to monitor web pages for Bitcoin and Ethereum wallet addresses and replaces them with others belonging to the attacker.
So that'd be cool to then. Do we have those addresses?
It disables
Track
Defender. It disables Defender. Forcibly installs a Firefox extension called Firefox Protection and hijacks the Chrome extension called Chrome Media Router. Immediately after the browser starts, the malware extension connects to a Firebase database and pulls in various settings along with JavaScript code to inject into various web pages. On a Google search result, it injects attacker promoted search results, such as the top search on the page. When running a query for spyware, for instance, the first two results pointed to websites that recommend a security solution called Total AV.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times what will happen with these guys is they'll get paid for each install, right? So you'll have a different group that just does installs. You'll have another group that pays for them to use it and piggyback it. There's like a whole economy.
Makes you wonder why they weren't mining too.
It's not worth it right now, probably. It's probably easier to
Good point.
drain accounts or something.
Wah, wah, wah. Thanks, Mike.
Sorry, I'm just saying.
Mr. Debbie Downer over here. All right, moving on. Beam wallet vulnerability. So we actually talked about Beam some last week, and we'll get more into MimbleWimble here in a bit. But I mean, the Beam wallet itself apparently had a critical vulnerability that could have put funds at risk. And let's see here. Vulnerability not related. So this is a key thing I would say here. The vulnerability is not related to MimbleWimble or cryptography or any underlying technology. Basically, it's a bug in the application itself. It just affected the wallets because it would be possible to create this specific transaction.
So forging transactions?
That's what it sounds like.
So what the you guys all remember bulletin board systems, right? We're all old enough to remember.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wildcat, Renegade 2.
Yeah, buddy. So Beam actually has a bulletin board system
Nice.
where you can, basically connect and share stuff and whatnot. So they have what's called a secure bulletin board system, Beam Secure BBS, where you can send messages and stuff to individuals based on their addresses. So that's pretty cool.
Does it really dial up?
Nice.
No, I'm pretty sure not.
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
That'd be cool if it faked it. Yeah. But yeah, so this flaw was in the bulletin board system where you could apparently basically just have another address send you funds. And that's pretty darn critical, if you ask me. So the vulnerability would have allowed an attacker to create modified transactions and subsequently send funds directly to the attacker's wallet.
Nice.
But they caught it apparently before, I'm assuming, before anybody actually exploited it, because Beam had only been out for not even a day when this dropped, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Is it closed source?
No, it's on GitHub. And apparently they supposedly went through a security audit, just like Grin, the other MimbleWimble.
Yeah, actually, I think Beam, if I remember, I read some article. I believe the Beam team paid for a security audit for Grin. The thing that I read that was kind of interesting to me is that they're not competitors, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That they're working together in different ways, which is kind of interesting. Alrighty. And I think this is the last kind of security news story that I got here. I just saw this one pop up on Twitter a little bit ago. So Trail of Bits just released an incident report for EIP 1283, which is regarding the Constantinople hard fork. There was a security issue. And basically, so from the timeline perspective, there was a proposal that was issued on August 1st, 2018. It was accepted November 28th, 2018. And then on January 14th, which was, 3 days ago, which was technically 2 days before the actual Constantinople hard fork was supposed to happen, a security issue was discovered by Chain Security. And then basically them and Trailbits and eVeem spent 24 hours spanning between January 15th and 16th, assessing the number of vulnerable contracts. Basically, what was happening is the hard fork itself was going to add the reentrancy vulnerability back in, which is kind of crappy. It's I don't understand why it would take so long for them to like why last minute was that found, Like, why wasn't it found earlier on? If it's been a couple months that they've been trying to work on it. 2 days before.
Somebody might have went through the audit and was like, I have a gut feeling about this, but I can't focus on it right now. Better look. Well, it looks like it's something to do with the gas, which is confusing for me because I guess it introduced a new gas computation, which allows for cheaper state variable modifications. So I guess changing some state variable with less than 2300 gas breaks the reentrancy mitigation that was already deployed. That's the problem.
Wow.
So the mitigation that was deployed, I get it. Okay.
So their exploit scenario says that before the fork, if you deployed a contract and transfer Ether to it, and then the fork occurs, the rules change. So you could have done a reentrancy attack then. So it seems like a very limited attack surface in the fact that you would have had, well, I guess after the fork, you could have targeted previous contracts.
In the short term, they say do not implement EIP 1283. Low gas costs for storage changes can break the implicit assumption that call instructions with the 2300 gas stipend are safe from reentrancies. Yeah, so I mean, this is good stuff, I'm glad they caught it, This could have been really bad. This could have been another huge story if they didn't catch this stuff early.
So yeah, and they scanned. I'm assuming, like I've been told, that you can scan the blockchain pretty quickly now because there's really not a lot of smart contracts out there anymore, as many as there were like during the boom. Mm-hmm. It's really
ICO days.
Yeah, it's really died off a lot. So they've got tools like eVeem and Trail of Bits Slither analyzer that you can just scan the whole blockchain for these vulnerabilities.
Nice.
It's pretty cool.
That is very, very cool. So let's see. What's next?
On to non-security news.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is kind of non-security. I mean, it's kind of security-ish, I guess. I mean, it's for a privacy token. So this is something that I kind of just saw like people talking about on Twitter, and it's something that I found interesting, and I don't know if there's a whole lot of hard documentation on what this is exactly. But basically what I saw is that there was a conversation about Zcash regarding changing the way some mining rewards would be divvied out, and basically talking about how to provide the ability for graphics cards to be used again for mining. They were going to basically time lock the rewards for 1 year, so that basically if you're using an ASIC, you're going to get your reward quickly, go cash out or whatever, But if you're in the market to utilize graphics cards, you could mine with it, which you'll likely have, lower competition because a lot of people want their coins quickly, I would assume. And but the caveat being you'd have to wait a year to actually get the coins that you're mining. So I kind of found that to be really interesting, and I want to get your guys' perspective on it.
Yeah, it's actually been implemented for a while in the Grin MimbleWimble coin that we'll talk about a little bit more too. So it's not entirely new, but ASICs have dominated the market as far as mining is concerned on several blockchains, Bitcoin included. And that really leads to centralization of the hash rate, right? So then there's possibilities for, say, 51% attacks, as we saw last week with what was it? ETH Classic, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Ethereum Classic.
Yeah, Ethereum Classic. Yep.
So
RIP.
this is their way to kind of incentivize both types of miners. ASIC miners, you and your high hash rate can go towards this algorithm and this side of the chain, and GPUs, you can still be in it, but you'll get your coins at a certain time. So
I wonder how they know. How does that work? Like, how do they know that I'm not on an ASIC? And just
It's probably a different algorithm, maybe.
yeah, you mine to a specific algorithm. So for Grin, I think it's Cuckoo 232 and Cuckoo 29.
Yep.
So 29 is the GPU, and Cuckoo 232 or 31 is the ASIC. So similar aspect of what it would have happened, and what still might happen with the Zcash. It looks like they've postponed it to a network upgrade 3, which would be April of 2020. So maybe they just want to stand by, and they said that they couldn't do it because of unresolved security and engineering issues. So basically, it sounds like they just couldn't figure out, how to keep it secure and how to do it correctly. Maybe they're just going to watch Grin and see what happens with Grin.
That's a good idea. Yep. So I think one of the big questions was, how are the mining pools going to survive? So if you're running a mining pool and the rewards are locked, like how do you I mean, you Steve, you know how it is to run a mining pool of your own.
Yeah.
The cost alone, right, is something to consider.
Absolutely. So and that depends, like how popular your mining pool gets. The more power you need behind it, and the more DDoS protection you need, and the more servers you need to split up your load over regions, say EU and US. So you do have to, the more people you attract, the bigger you have to get, and the more money you have to spend. So yeah, absolutely. If you're using that, if you don't have just a bunch of money to throw at hosting servers and buying DDoS protection and all that kind of stuff, then, and you're living off of the mining rewards, then yeah, it's not lucrative, and this methodology would not benefit you very much. But I guess maybe they're hoping that the price goes up over time, and that by the time you get your coins, it's worth more. That's all I can assume. But
I guess keep you from just cashing out quickly. I don't know. All right. Well, I guess let's move on to talking about Grin, man. So earlier this week, I think I sent you a message. I was like, hey, so you got a quick start guide for mining Beam? And because we had just talked about it last week on the show last week, and we did talk about MimbleWimble a little bit last week. And so I sent you the message asking about Beam, and then you were like, hey, I'm kind of freaking out right now because Grin's about to launch.
yeah. Yeah, so I was tracking Grin pretty closely and trying to get follow along to see which pools might be available, and there really wasn't. So this is a new protocol. It's not based on Bitcoin. It's a new thing, and there's no wallet address. So you don't mine to an address. The mining pool has to set up a way to pay you to your wallet, and that can either be a direct one-to-one transfer over the internet straight to your wallet, and then you'd have to host your wallet literally on the open internet.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
It does sound like a terrible idea. There are also ways,
though, right?
Yeah, there's a couple methods. Being over email, you can do it over email, where they email you basically like a little script to run, and then it gives you a code, and then you send that code back in, and somehow it magically transfers. I haven't done an actual transfer yet, so that's something I'm looking to do hopefully this week, because I have mined some.
Yeah, we should do that, because I was trying to look at it today too, and so from what I understand, there's no like real easy like just set up a wallet right now, right? Like it's still command line, right?
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. Beam came out with, and Beam is another MimbleWimble-based protocol coin, but they have a GUI wallet, which we just talked about had a flaw in it. But they also use the latest version of Equihash. So they're not using this graph. Like Grin is using Kukatu and Kukatu 32 plus, and then what's the 29? Well, it's short. Grin 29 for short, and Grin 31 for the ASICs.
Yep.
So there's really no easy way to just pay yourself, and that's what I think. There weren't many mining pools set up right off the bat, so we tried figuring out if you could solo mine, and then there was one pool that came up. We could mine too, and there's a really good guide on blockcipher.com, blog.blockcipher.com, and Cipher, that's CYPHER, and it's a mining Grin on Grin Mint, a step-by-step tutorial. Grin Mint is in one of the pools that first popped up, and we've been mining to it, but it's had some serious stability issues.
Yeah, serious. Like basically, the last 24 hours, it didn't show that I had any shares accepted, and I know
right. Yeah, and your miner shows that it's actually mining.
Yeah, like thousands of
and it's
accepted
submitting shares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have the same problem?
I absolutely did. Yeah. So I went hunting for a new mining pool, and I'm trying to find this graphic. So there are several mining pools now. Most of them are centralized in China. Go figure. So there's sparkpool.com, f2pool.com. Grinmint is number 3, even though it's not working very properly. And then there's another Chinese pool. So there's a few pools going right now, and one of them apparently has like 41% of the hash rate already.
Wow.
So that's not very distributed, No. And that's sparkpool.com. That's a Chinese pool, and I can only imagine there's probably farms of GPUs pointed at that.
So there's a lot of questions, like is this new protocol even vulnerable to a 51% attack? Like I'm pretty sure I heard that it wasn't from one of the videos I watched about it. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, I tried to spend this week learning about Gran, learning about MimbleWimble, and I left, basically showed up tonight with more questions than I had to start with.
Absolutely.
It's complex. There's a lot of stuff.
So like high level, MimbleWimble is mostly about confidential transactions. So like Bitcoin, you can look at the block, you can look at an address and then and see, who sent to and from and all that. You can't do that on Grin because technically you don't have an address, you just have a wallet. And it's kind of weird because the values of transactions are all encrypted with random strings called blinding factors. And so that means you can't see the values of any one wallet directly, because they're encrypted in a manner which allows the math to be done. What this article with Cryptopia says with ciphertext, generating an encrypted result that, when decrypted, matches the result of the operations performed in plaintext. Yada yada yada. So yes,
right.
You encrypt.
So this is what I was trying to tell. I was trying to explain it to Mike a little bit earlier, that it's all about the inputs and the outputs, right? So it's like
that's the good thing about that, is that it makes the blockchain smaller. It makes the transaction, each block, smaller. I think it's only a couple kilobytes for each blockchain, which is super small, and it only has to validate that the factors all add up to 0, I believe, right? So
yes.
Inputs and inputs meet outputs, and then that just means that it's true.
Yeah, and to
So
like the naked eye, to like if you were to go look at it on a block explorer, like one block is just it's a blob of encrypted data, right? With there are some headers that have like the inputs and outputs, but other than that, I think it's just a blob of encrypted data. Like you don't see all the transactions that happen like you do with Bitcoin.
right, and that's so that's kind of called, they do coin join, which is another thing where they blocks will only have lists of new inputs and new outputs, and then signatures which are created from those values. So you don't see any of the history and where those came from and stuff like that, previous blocks.
You know, I wonder. Okay, so no, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of like attacks against this, right? Like I'm trying to think, how could you potentially see where transactions are going? And I'm wondering, like, if you know how like with Tor, right? Like you have like the you know like the exit nodes and entry nodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you could have something kind of similar, like a situation similar where, like, if you're an ISP or something in a region, if you could see, like, you know, minor inputs and outputs somehow and like track that.
Mm. Well, I mean, since the payout schemes are over either direct HTTP, you could maybe, if you're man in the middling, sniff those. But
Are
the
they
email
clear text?
payouts and you're downloading a script, I don't know.
Are they clear text over just HTTP?
That's what it seems like. Yeah,
That'd be bad.
it does seem to me.
That'd be really bad. That seems like a vulnerability right there.
So that's one thing we haven't really looked into yet is so when you're requesting a payout from the pool, like I said, the one thing is you can have your wallet open on the internet and it'll actually send you the funds directly to your wallet. Well, what's to say something can't intercept that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the form on the pool, you fill out a password. Apparently it's, you know, probably encrypts your stuff and then sends it on, but I mean, would that be brute forcible or?
Well, your password certainly would.
Sure.
All right, so here's a kind of vulnerability with this particular mining pool, is that you just can throw in the email address and see the hashing power. I mean, they recommend you throw like, you know, plus and then like a long string within your email address, because like, you know, you'll still get the emails, you know, if you throw the plus sign in there.
Like an alias.
So,
yeah, like an alias, yeah.
So now in this case, if you know somebody's mining, and let's just say you go to this mining pool and you just fuzz a bunch of email addresses that say you got from a dump, right? Now you can see who's mining Grin. Maybe you hit a few hits in that from that big dump or whatever.
And then brute force their password.
Who's mining Grin, and then gain access to their email and request an email payout.
Yep. Figure out who to target for SIM swapping attacks.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay, so the payouts, I'm trying to find the HTTP thing. So I think request HTTP payout. Like if that's just a clear text list like HTTP listener and it's not HTTPS, that's bad.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So usually wallets are RPC, and I don't know, but this says HTTP payout, like you said. So, but you do have to provide a password, so maybe it's encrypting it somehow before it's sending, but that's something we have to do a little bit more research on.
So we should.
I would not suggest the HTTP.
Yeah, I would not suggest that either. I would not suggest that. I was going to say we should set this up. Like you and I should like go through this and take a look at both how to do it first of all, and secondly, if it's really using HTTP, that's bad. We should probably tell them that.
Yeah, we could do a little walkthrough and maybe blog about it or something. Be interesting.
Yeah, here I found a how to use the Grin wallet on their wiki. Here, I'm going to paste this into the chat. And I mean, as you can see, it's as of right now still a very much command line wallet. So all right, so there's no addresses. So that means like you can't just like send something like, you know what I mean? Like you can't like directly like just send like a payment. Like you have to there's gonna have to be some sort of method. Like I'm trying to think of how is this going to be applicable? Like how are they actually going to use
it's
this?
via file or a listener right now. So you create a transaction file with the Grin wallet, and then you send that to somebody, and they
So if I want to make
take
payments
file
on it,
and
right?
they basically type Grin wallet receive and then point it to the file, and then it receives over the blockchain.
So if I want to make a payment in the future, right? Like let's say like this is the platform, you know, like let's say this is how like we're assuming this would be the next Bitcoin or something, right? Is that saying that basically I'm going to have to like when I go to pay like for a coffee that they're going to have an HTTP listener or be able to,
I hope to God they figure something else
or I'm
out.
going to like, hey, here, I'm emailing you this file. There's your payment.
Right?
Like they'll have to figure that out. Like, I mean, I don't know. I saw that. Actually, I think we did. Did we actually talk about it last week about the ledger adding in Bluetooth? I know it was in our show notes, but I don't know if we actually talked about it.
I don't think so.
Anyways, the ledger, the latest ledger, actually added Bluetooth to it, and that made me think of this particular situation because, you know, from a hardware wallet perspective, the big question is how can I actually use this in like the real world? You know, like can I take it with me, pay for stuff? You know. So they added Bluetooth to it, which is kind of funny. And I assume that it just connects to your phone, and then your phone makes the payment.
I wonder if you could interrogate it like Bluetooth spec without having to actually pair.
Probably.
Like download their APK, download an APK if it does connect to the wallet, reverse it, get the information.
Oh, like APK for the like whatever Android app or whatever connects to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
See if you can pull the unique GUIDs to interrogate it.
Sounds like a weekend project. So I get what Grin's doing, I guess, like in the sense that like you have to have these online, because I mean technically like the fact that you either have to have an HTTP listener or you have to be able to take a file means you have to have like a live wallet. Like with Bitcoin, like I can just give you an address and it just happens on the blockchain when you send something to it, you know, like it's magical internet money, right? But with this, there is an actual transfer of like data from one place to another, you know. That's what it seems like anyway.
So yeah, and from the command line wallet, so where the pool, how the pools are doing it is they're basically using the command line in the background. Basically you send a transaction by Grin wallet send -d, and then it's a HTTP address of another listening wallet, and then the amount. That's seems totally ridiculous, and I want to Wireshark it like so bad.
Yeah. Dude, this week, let's do it.
Yeah.
So it's saying HTTP, but it's over port 3415, which is actually the peer-to-peer node port.
Right. So is that an RPC port, or is that a specific, which protocol? Is that a specific?
Normally it's an RPC. So this looks like it's just over HTTP. It's using HTTP as a protocol. Actually, doesn't Stratum do that? Didn't Stratum?
Yeah,
it used to with the GetWork, protocol, when Bitcoin used GetWork. Yes, but they changed it.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's inheriting some of that old stuff.
Anyways, definitely interesting. New thing to look at. I saw some mumblings about it on Twitter by a few fairly reputable folks, which is kind of interesting, you know.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll kind of see where that one goes. Is it on any exchanges yet?
Beam is on a couple. Yes, it's on Cryptopia. Good luck. So if you want to learn more about Grin, you can go to grin-tech.org. There's also a chat feature on the website. If you just go to the chat button and hit lobby, it'll take you right to the current Grin chat room, basically. And it's a good place to keep. I've been keeping up with it for a couple weeks now as the development has gone through.
Yeah, so you might want to tell them that they're. Never mind. We'll take this offline. So the Grin miner on MimbleWimble on GitHub. Yeah, you could get the miner there if you're wanting to mine this thing. It looks pretty cool.
Mike.
Yes.
you have the evil smirk on your face, and that didn't sound like something. Okay, I guess we'll just talk about that later.
Should probably email them.
Oh man. Okay. Alrighty. Well, I guess
That's
is
all we have, I think.
yeah. That's pretty much it. Oh, okay. So on CoinGecko.com, it shows Grin trading exchanges. And apparently on Bit4x, it's trading at $8.01.
Bit4x, huh?
So it says.
Yeah, so it is the typical. The Beam did this a few days ago. It came out and it was at like $5 right away, and then it dropped. Now it's down to like $1, I think, maybe even less. Gran looks like it was immediately at 35, at 36, and then so the miners who mine a bunch of it right away immediately sell it off at a high rate, and then it drops and stabilizes, which is what happened here.
Gotcha. Well, all right. I guess we can call it, guys. If that's it, we ain't got anything else to talk about.
That's it.
Alrighty. Well, make sure you come hang out with us in the Central Sec Slack. It's been over a year, man. Like we have been doing this show for over a year, and I'm sad to say there's only 18 people, and 5 of those are us because Rob has 2 accounts.
That's too good.
And go follow us on Twitter at CoinSec Podcast. Check out coinsecpodcast.com for the shows. Subscribe to the podcast in your favorite podcast app. And if you like the show, leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. All right, guys. Hopefully next week we can get all 4 of us together. We'll try.
Yeah.
We'll see. Next week Mike's not going to be here. Betting. Bets.
Next week I have I have a surgery.
Ooh. Okay. Well, we can talk about that later.
Next Thursday.
I still expect you to be here, though. From the operating table.
From the operating table.
All right, guys. It's been fun. We'll see you next week. Later.
See ya.